agenda is called to order. I have called this meeting to order at 6:07. Next thing is called to the audience. I don't see any audience member in here. And then I'll move on straight to approval of the agenda. I know we had a little amendment to that. We'd like to move up Supreme Court opinion to the very first thing we discussed before old business, partly because we have our wonderful legal advisor, Janice, with us, and you all would have seen the email and know that we are in a very exciting time. She's here to discuss the opinion that we received from the court and answer any questions. So can someone move a motion to amend the agenda, please? Is there any motion to amend the agenda? Motion to amend our agenda and
Motion to
have.
amend.
Is it you moving the motion?
Yeah, I motion to amend the agenda to move Janice up.
Okay, any second?
Second to Janice.
Okay, ayes please. 4 nays, abstentions.
Well, actually, no, I'm
Okay, 3-3, motion passes. Approval of the minutes. We have 3 minutes that have not been approved from January 30th, February 13th,
So
March
the
20th.
3:20 minutes, what's in outcoming is it's not.
I don't think that's been sent out, so
So it's 2 minutes. I'm not really sure what they tabled before and why.
they were tabled at the last meeting. Is there a motion to approve those minutes
Motion
now?
approved.
Is there a second? Can I have ayes, please? Are there nays? That's 5 nays, abstentions, 5-1. So Janice, it's all up to you right now.
So I just thought I would come and answer any questions that any of the members of the EB had regarding the opinion that the GPSC Supreme Court issued earlier today. So it has been posted on the GPSC website, also on the AACA website, as it can have some authority on the AACA site should they have a similar question. But I got that to we ran that up to the website. So I'm here just kind of answer any questions people might have about the opinion or what's in the opinion. I will say that, just so you know, the justices actually had 10 business days to issue their opinion on this matter pursuant to the rules, and they issued it in 4 out of courtesy out of the fact that they understood that this is a pressing matter, they need to be addressed. But just keep that in mind that, they did a very good job with a very short time frame, and they didn't have to. You could have waited till next week for this. So, and they had other matters to deal with, and they postponed that to get this to you, so now they have to go back to do the other stuff. So I'm just here to answer any questions about the opinion, what it means, what it says.
My only comment is I'm really glad that justices actually read Robert's rules, and I would like to pass on appreciation to them for that. I will admit I had slightly lower expectations, but you all flew through them, so thank you.
As you will see, they were very thorough.
So, what effect do your answers to questions have here today?
Well, I'm here as the advisor of the Supreme Court, and so you know that you're not allowed to speak to members of the Supreme Court pursuant to the rules. You're not allowed to have communication directly with any of the justices. And so even when we've had matters on the ASUA side, it's always the practice that I can go to those parties involved and answer any questions that the parties may have regarding a ruling that may be issued and or an opinion. So I had a meeting earlier today with people who had actually Jude and Danielle and work with who actually had submitted the actual advisory opinion request, and then they asked if I would be willing to come here at the last minute to this meeting. I said I'd be more than happy to answer any questions that the ED may have about what this means and how it works and anything regarding that. Yes.
My question is, when was the Supreme Court opinion available?
The Supreme Court opinion was made available later this afternoon. The clerk of the court transmitted that opinion to Jude, Danielle, and Marquez, as they were the parties on behalf of GPSC that requested that opinion, and then that opinion was then provided to Ren to upload onto the GPSC website.
Is the actual petition available? The actual request for advisory?
Yeah, members, the EB members requested. If you wanna see that, that's up to the EB members if they wanna provide that to you. But they have answered the questions, and those people who submitted the request, Danielle and Judy can say they answered actually more than was even asked.
So just to speak to that, basically there was a long back and forth chain in our emails, as you all know, about what happened and what was going to happen with term limits. So instead of keeping on debating fruitlessly, this seems like a really great opportunity to make use of the Supreme Court.
So to extend that question, so are you saying that the university would not respond to public records request for the petition?
You have to understand, they're not governed by open meeting laws. So the ACRA Supreme Court is not governed by open meeting laws, they're a deliberating body. So when they have oral arguments on matters, those oral arguments are not public. So if you guys want copies of those documents, it's up to the rest of GPAC. If you guys wanna provide the rest of your members a copy of what you submitted as an advisory opinion request, that's your guys' prerogative. I will tell you that the opinion answers all of the questions that were asked and is very thorough, it is very detailed. It answers all the questions, it goes through a very thorough analysis and says even more so goes beyond what, there were even, goes beyond to go with very specific to what is actually stated and requested. So a very thorough detail.
So, I don't know if you're aware of it, but Jude has sent out an email saying that he interprets the by his interpretation, the Supreme Court vote is, this opinion is nullified.
It says that in the opinion of the Supreme Court.
Again, like I said, it is on the GPSC website, and once it was provided to the parties who requested it, pursuant to the email, the clerk will respond to the email that was submitted. So the clerk submitted, responded to that email was provided, and GPSC is free to distribute that as they wish. I only make sure that that opinion gets uploaded to whatever the appropriate body is. So when I handle matters as the advisor on the ASUA side, I make sure I'm coordinating with our AT manager who manages our website to have that uploaded. So for example, last week, there was a matter, excuse me, let me finish talking, Jim. So last week we had a matter regarding ASUA that was handled, and there was a ruling that was issued. That ruling was immediately uploaded to the ASUA website pursuant to our internal policies, and I coordinated that. This time it was Ray Wren who handles and manages your website, so that information was provided to Ray Wren to upload to your website.
So what did you, I think you may have misunderstood, what do you think I was asking?
Well, you were asking about it getting to people and stuff, and that's what I'm telling you. That's how the opinion got distributed.
No, that's not what I was asking. What I'm saying is that today at 5:16 p.m., President Jude sent out an email saying that he interprets the Supreme Court ruling to mean that the Supreme Court's decision is nullified.
Incorrect.
Okay, so perhaps I misunderstood. What did you mean?
I said that based on based on the opinion from the Supreme Court, that because Danielle, who is the Assembly Chair, did not announce the ruling or the results of our vote at the meeting, that term was invalid or was nullified. If we apply the same reasoning, it means that Supreme Court, the amendment to our Constitution to have Supreme Court, GPSC Supreme Court, is also nullified. That means right now, we do not have a GPSC Supreme Court if we go by that opinion, and it means we don't have a court to preside or oversee our ongoing elections, and that, as you all know, is problematic.
But so what Jude is asserting is that because the Supreme Court said that the vote on term limits was sent out by email.
No. Did you read the opinion, Jim?
Yes, I'm not talking about the opinion.
Well, I'm telling you, the opinion in mine is very clear. The opinion
Yes.
specifically says,
Excuse
I'm
me,
looking at
ma'am.
the opinion here, the opinion
I'm not
specifically
speaking.
says,
Excuse me, ma'am.
what happened
I'm not speaking
and
about
what
the
the
opinion.
If I may speak, because we have to move on to other
Well, excuse
agenda
me, Jude, I
tonight.
believe
Hold
I
on,
have the
please.
floor.
Hold on, please.
I believe
Jim,
I am speaking.
Jim, and I am
I've
running
not
this
finished
meeting.
my
I
question.
am running this meeting. Please, I would ask that you ask the specific questions because I would have to end this discussion in the next
So
5
Jude's
minutes.
position
So
is
please
that
ask.
he's going to ignore the Supreme Court's decision.
That's not the case.
One,
Can I clarify this for a second?
go.
The problem is that the same email that sent out the term limit decision is the same one that sent out the Supreme Court decision, because I had to go back to documents to check on all of those things. So if the email motion calling that I sent out based on the term limits is invalid, it is also invalid on the internet to the Supreme Court. So what that means is we don't have a Supreme Court right now. We don't have term limits right now.
So,
Because
Janet,
they're not going to decide that the email's fine in one instance and not fine in another.
But that wasn't in the purview of theirs.
So,
They
folks,
didn't
can I
ask about
please
it.
finish
Um,
speaking?
Okay.
The Supreme
Yeah,
Court
yeah.
specifically
Daniel,
asked
let-
about term
okay.
limits.
Were you
Everybody,
gonna,
can I please finish my question?
please get to your question, please. We are running out of time.
Jude, I have
Ask a question. Ask a question, please.
Okay, so, do you understand the interpretation which is being put forward from what folks just said?
I understand, they're not really interpreting anything that is not very straightforward and very detailed and specific inside the opinion. The key is here, you have to understand, the court is very clear here, you cannot pick and choose what to interpret, what to rules to follow when. They're very clear, if you're in your governing documents have Robert Rules of Order. You say that you will follow Robert's Rules of Order, according to the opinion that the court has written, to make changes to your governing docs. If you do not follow Robert's Rules of Order, therefore things do not become valid.
Okay, I would ask
That's,
that you,
as long as you follow the Robert's Rules of Order, and that's what the opinion is saying. If you follow Robert's Rules of Orders, things get passed. If they don't, they don't.
so,
They're very clear there.
so the position now is that the Supreme Court cannot make rulings because we haven't adopted the Supreme Court. Do you agree with that interpretation?
I would agree in that interpretation. I would also further state that
So you
the
said
Supreme Court, excuse me, Jen, let me finish my sentence, that the Supreme Court was only asked to look at what was asked of them. They were not asked to look at other instances about them being adopted or other matters before then, interpretation of when term limits would take effect, anything else. They were specifically asked about term limits. Did this pass or did it not? Therefore, the court looked at your own governing documents that state Robert Rules of Orders would govern this process. They looked at that. They also, if you looked at the Arizona Nonprofit Corporation Act as an additional guidance for the context that this board, the GPSC, like many other boards, operate as a nonprofit similar board. And based on that, in your own governing docs, they have said that those items did not pass. Now, if you want to extend that interpretation and apply it to something else, that is your choice. The court has simply ruled under a request for the advisory opinion, which was, did term limits pass, yes or no? The court specifically says, did not pass. It did not pass the first time because of A, and it didn't pass the second time because of B. They're very specific of why it didn't pass each time, and went through, in my opinion, a very detailed and thorough analysis of why it didn't. There should be no question about what should be done next, and or there should be no question about what was done or what wasn't done, and where their faults lie.
what should be done next?
It says we should revote. It's the last thing in the opinion.
Okay, Jim, please, Jasmine, I'll take two more questions on this and move on, please. Is there a question for Janice? Can we have questions for Janice
I
and
would
not
like to move
comments?
that we move on from this agenda item immediately. I think we've exhausted all fruitful discussion.
There's a motion on the table. Is there a second?
Objection.
There is an objection.
So time to vote.
So now we have to vote. What again?
We're voting on.
Are you-
We're letting Janice stop talking about this.
Okay.
The motion to move on. Sorry.
Janice, I am so sorry.
It is okay.
All
You
right.
didn't realize I was an attorney in private practice. I'm used to dealing with all kinds of personalities.
I apologize on everybody's behalf. Okay, there is a motion to end the discussion right now. Is there ayes on the table, please? 2, 4, 5 nays. One nay. Abstention. I don't see any vote from Collins. That
I
said,
understand,
that motion
but
has
this is
moved.
not- I am
That
not
motion
the
has been
advisor
passed.
for GPSC.
Janice.
You're being asked here by Jim on a question. I'm trying to tell him I am not the advisor for GPSC.
Okay.
I'm simply the Supreme Court advisor.
Janice, if I may say this, I invited you to come tonight and have a conversation with the executive board, and I really appreciate you taking out time from your busy schedule to come do this. You were under no obligation to do it, but you accepted that offer. Thank you so much. It means a lot to us. With that said, the EB thinks that we've gotten enough information that we need from you, and we now need to move on to other discussions. So thanks for your time. If anybody has further questions, can they email you, or do they have to go through some source, or do they have to set up a meeting with you?
I would request that if people have additional questions, that they
Mhm.
can reach out to me and then schedule an appointment based on my availability.
Okay, so you've all heard it. If you have further questions for Janice, you can set up an appointment with her and have discussions with
Yes.
her. With that said, we will now move on to other business. Janice, thanks again for your time.
No problem.
Moving on to old business, I believe that's the first thing on the agenda. Old business, it's gonna be budget updates. Janice.
I understand, yes, I need
Thanks
to
for your
leave,
time.
thank you.
I was gonna say, can we politely kick you out
Yes.
and take you to your office?
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks so much for coming.
You
Jim,
know, she's got a lot to do, and it would help us to make sure that we
Now
get this
we're
meeting going.
now we're getting to sexual.
okay, I'm gonna
harassment.
move on to other part of our document. Sir,
I'm really very
agenda.
Yeah.
I am still running this meeting, please. Janice, please, I'll politely ask that you leave us at this point.
Okay, she said she was done talking.
Not
Not going to happen.
Get away from me. Both
This is
of
your
you.
stuff.
Get away from me.
Yeah, seriously.
Thank you.
Just have a leave the room.
Thank you.
That's all. Thanks. Jasmine, please, can you come back to a meeting? Thank you. Moving on to old business, budget update. Jim, do you have an update for us?
Yes, we're rapidly running out of money. And
Okay.
we are probably, as I've said many times before, we're probably going to not have enough money to finish up the year, and it looks like we're going to go into the next year with a deficit.
Do you want to throw more light on that? I think right now that's pretty vague for everybody. Why are we running out of money from, and what's your recommendation to the board?
That we stop spending money right
That we stop all our programs right now.
now. No, we need to make some selective choices on where to save money.
So what is the recommendation? Because I'm hearing you say we should stop everything we're doing right now, stop all our services, and stop spending money.
I'm not saying anything like that.
Okay, so what is your recommendation?
So Jude, if you're going to start trying to put words in my mouth and misrepresent what I'm saying, I'm going to stop now.
Hey Jude, sorry.
Yeah.
Can I move that we instead hear from all of the,
Okay.
directors and admins
That
over?
what you're moving now, it's to go to new business.
I'm moving specifically that we table this so we can hear from all of the directors and admins, so that they don't have to sit through us arguing with Jim.
Okay. Are you moving to move away from the old business or table business budget updates?
I'm moving specifically to table the current item, which means that now
Okay,
there's
budget
on
update.
the
So
floor. And then
next
I'm
thing-
also moving to immediately start discussing the admin and director updates. So I suppose that's two motions, but this is completely allowed. It's not like I'm breaking any rules here.
Okay. There's a motion on the table. Second, are there votes on that?
For yes?
Yes, vote on yes. 1, 2, 3. Noes. Abstentions.
That was a no.
2 noes.
I'm sorry. We need to
Sorry.
do it again.
Back to the votes. There is a motion, 2 motions. The first one is that we table or we suspend this discussion on budget updates and discuss that as the last thing for this meeting. And second motion is, let's vote on the first second motion is that let's have our admins talk right away. So is there a motion? We have a motion on the ground on ground for those two, and there is a second, so we're voting on those two right now. Are there yes to that? 1, 2, 3, 4. Are there no's to that? 2 no. Abstentions. Daniel abstention 4 to 1. That said, straight to admin. Janelle, you were the first on our list, so it's up to you.
Okay.
Was this one?
So, the tech support came and they said if I wanted an adapter for the Mac, they would have to charge us. So I said, no,
Ah.
it's fine. I'll just kind of, maybe most of you have a laptop, right?
You can email that out.
So yeah, you could you could just follow along with, the links. Does everyone have the links? Oh, I think I'm gonna just send it to eBoard, in the interest of saving time, I'm going to go over a quick overview of some of the changes that are going to be coming for the travel grants program next year, as well as kind of our budget and what we've done this year. So in terms of the changes that are coming, because of the hard work of the leadership team for GPSC, we are now going to be fully funded for next year for the first time in a few years. So, first, as the director for this program, I want to thank everyone for their hard work and for making sure this important program is fully funded, because you're really having an impact on the lives of graduate and professional students at this university. So, first of all, thank you, everyone. I'm super excited. It's going to make my job easier. So given that, some of the changes I had initially proposed are off the table. Instead, we are going to be changing the award in that domestic applicants will receive up to $750. International applicants applying for international travel can receive up to $1,000. We will also be changing the rubric in that we are adding an impact statement. So this will assess how well the applicant is able to communicate the relationship between this event and the impact on themselves and their professional development, their field, their community, the UA, and kind of the globe and international communities. So secondly, we'll be adding a lay summary or summary instead of the abstract. So in this way, this kind of allows us to reorient the focus from just conference presentations to all types of events. So an applicant can more easily make their case for why they should be funded. And lastly, we're mostly keeping the fourth section budget, but I'm expanding the third section and asking applicants to provide a verbal explanation of their budget, of how they came to find certain costs for the trip. And how they arrived at those, economical options, and then as well as actually requiring applicants to mention at least one attempt to secure additional funding. So that's not to say you have to get that funding, but for example, let's say I'm attending a conference and I emailed the conference organizers and asked, is there any funding for first-time participants? So that is totally legitimate as one sort of type of funding. Or I emailed my department chair and asked if there was any funding to support my research and my field work. So given that, there are some changes coming additionally in terms of the timing of the rounds. We will now have 4 rounds, likely September, November, March, and May. And instead of the 1 month before, 6 months after, as has been the traditional practice, I found this confusing to applicants and creates a lot of administrative burden in terms of the emails we get. So now it will, all 4 rounds will cover travel within the fiscal year. So July 1st to June 30th. And this helps us run more efficiently because any money we get back as a refund or an adjustment to an award, we can now have that to spend within the fiscal year. So this kind of makes good sense for us in terms of how we can run the program more efficiently. And additionally, we are going to allow applicants to apply for every single round until they get an award. So in some ways, we're giving even more opportunity to graduate students than we had in the past. As you all know, we did have a few cuts, shifting gears to this current year. We had a cut in funding from SSFAB from approximately $250,000 to $153,000, and then because of the issues in the processing of the May round, we had to lend an additional $52,000 from the program budget to processing that May round. So that being said, we had quite a bit less money to spend for awards, but so far we have spent approximately half of the funds, because we still have to give awards for the January-March round, which deadline has already passed, as well as May. So we still have about $79,000 to give out. And we will give out for this round approximately $53,000, since it's a combined round representing July and September. And then for the May round, probably about $27,000. In terms of applicant growth, despite conversations, I know Jude, you and I had talked about this, when I ran the numbers and I looked at combined rounds, for example, we had July and September instead of just July and just September. Even when I take that July-September round and I compare that to the number of applicants from July and the number of applicants from September from last fiscal year, we still had a 5% increase in applicants. Same thing with this round. It was about a 1.5% increase in the number of applicants. But so far, the greatest increase was in November. So we had a 16% increase compared to the last fiscal year. So far we've given out 108 awards, and I project that I'll be giving about 70, a bit more probably, because not everyone asks for the full 750. And then for the final round, I'll be giving about 35 awards. So for the future, again, we want to keep pushing and getting more funding to expand this program. Something I included in the report is eventually I would love if we could add another GA to this program. So it would be possible for the director to focus on big picture issues, recruiting, outreach. Eventually I want this program to become a hub for professional development related travel at the university. So eventually I'd like to see like the partnership we have with the College of Engineering, where we essentially are given their travel funds and we give that $5,000 in travel funds in $250 grants to the top scoring non-awardees from their program in a given travel grant round. So I would like to see more partnerships across the university of that nature. So we essentially are going to guarantee our longevity as a program that provides an important service to this university and to academic departments. Additionally, I know Sarah, I guess she's not here. Okay. She, is doing a great job with, and Danielle, fundraising related things. But it would be great too, eventually, if we can have a more lasting source of support for the travel grants program outside of university funding and student service fees funding. So eventually, hopefully, we'll have contributions from former awardees. Okay, questions?
The only question for the aspect of showing that they've made an effort of finding a different source of funding. Do you think that just the email or the correspondence is going to suffice, or do you want them to also, with that, submit an actual form or application that shows that there was a scholarship available through that goes alongside with their email?
Good question. So the way the program operates now, we only require applicants to report additional sources of funding or support in the budget section, or to describe it. They get extra points if they describe, outside funding within the statement or within the application. So in my mind, I don't even think I would require an email. It would just be, a clear explanation of how that person went about trying to find funding outside of the travel grants program. Yeah, good question.
Right,
Daniel.
so just to clarify, it is required for them to try, or say
Yes.
they've tried? Okay.
And I think most people do say, I asked my department, I applied for a grant, I applied for an award, and I wasn't successful, or this funding is pending. Because even though we have more funding, I don't want anyone to ever think that a travel grant is a sure thing. This program needs to stay competitive. So what I would like to do next year is to work a lot more on outreach and recruitment of new applicants and reaching out to departments and units we haven't worked with before, so we can increase the number of applicants to keep the program as competitive as possible. So I know in the past the goal was to have a 60% award rate, but I don't necessarily agree that we should have kind of like a cut, number of awards that should be given out, perhaps.
Any other questions?
In interest of keeping the program competitive for future funding. So.
Have you talked to Sausage about all the revamp and the timeline?
Yes. So they're not looking at anything until after commencement. So essentially, we've given them a list of priorities, and those, of course, have shifted from when I took over this role to now, in terms of us knowing what would be the most productive thing for us administratively for them to take care of first.
Are these starting from scratch or just modifying what exists?
These are just enhancements. So anything like putting the expense reports online, that's way on the back burner. So that's something we'll discuss with them after. So nothing really should be from scratch. Most of it's just adding on or enhancing what we already have.
And you're looking to start the new rounds, new type of system in the next fiscal year?
Yes, so in interest of making sure future directors are properly trained, the first round of the fiscal year will always now be in September. Because I think there's a really quick turnaround in terms of, hiring someone, training them, and they have to be ready to process the July round. It's a lot of, there's a somewhat of a learning curve for this program. So the first round of the fiscal year will be in September.
Right, so that still, those September rounds can still do August
Yeah.
funding because we're gonna do.
Yep, covering the fiscal year, so.
And your point was that whatever round anyone applies to,
Mhm.
it covers the entire fiscal year, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So July 1st to June 30th.
Okay. Any other question? Were you done with your questions?
Yeah, I think so, but we might need to talk later.
Sure.
If you have other stuff.
Yeah, I can share the list with you and we can.
Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
talk with this one.
Jenna, it sounds like we might not have any rollover funds from your
No.
program. All
Well,
right.
she can't, right, because it's as a staff.
Where some of our money can roll over, like the one from Grant College and
see.
other sources could roll over. But it sounds like we will not have any from you. Is that what you
We
just
never,
said?
the program traditionally has never had rollover funds.
Okay, that's what I just wanted to confirm.
Yeah.
Like whether or not we have. I think the next person is gonna be Charlotte.
Yeah, all right, so I just sent a report to all of you before the meeting. So it basically has everything that I want to mention today. So, so far, we've approved 51 applications this year for a total of $57,000. So we have a remaining balance of $16,366. So we have the 16K for round 5 and round 6. So that's March round and April round. So actually I checked with Cindy, and it seems like some applicants, some awardees haven't started their project yet, and some of them haven't finished their project. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna work with Cindy and have a list of those people who haven't finished the project or who haven't started the project, and reach out to them and ask, are you done with the project? Can we close the account? If you don't think you can spend up the money by the end of the fiscal year, then would you prefer getting the award as a stipend, so that they will not, so that the funds will not expire, basically, so that they still have access to that. But stipends are taxable income, so I'm sure they would need to think twice about it. But I'm gonna offer that option to them, just because, if they don't accept the stipend, and if they can't transfer the money out by the end of the fiscal year, then they won't have access to the money afterwards. So if you are looking at the report, and in figure 3, you're gonna see the amount funded by round so far. The summer round is basically for the awardees from fiscal year 16, but they're actually using the funds from fiscal year 17. So this is like a rollover round. The reason why the figure is very big, almost 25,000, is because it was the maximum amount per award was $2,000 at that time. So that's why those awardees kind of, eating up much of the funds of this year. And so far, if we're just looking at this fiscal year, the acceptance rate is 65%. If we're not counting the summer round, then the acceptance rate would be 57%, which I think is okay, but I feel that the SSFAB would want us to be more selective, more competitive. So we may need to think about that. And I'm gonna come back to the criteria later. And if we look at all rounds since fiscal year 14 to now, then the acceptance rate is like 65%, 65 to 7%. So right now we have 2 remaining rounds in fiscal year 17. Right now for March, we have 14 applicants, but then the judging period hasn't ended. So I expect that there will be 10 awardees for this round. And then for April round, based on past year's statistics, the last round is actually the biggest round. So maybe we will have 20 to 30 applicants this year. And that means we will need to fund maybe $10,000 to $20,000 depending on the awardees, which is a lot of money. And right now, as you can see from figure 2, we only have 16,000 left for this fiscal year. So we may need to roll over to next fiscal year. And figure 8, this is actually the budget for fiscal year 18. So SSFAB approved $75,000 for fiscal year 18. That means we only have operational funds of $43,000. And then we're gonna have whatever remaining in the VPR account or the GPSC sub-account in this fiscal year, but I don't think there will be any, just because we may have a large round in April, and we may have to spend all of the money from the VPR account or the GPSC sub-account. But if we have something remaining in those accounts, then we can roll them over to next fiscal year. So my understanding is that VPR usually would give us $10,000 per year. So I expect this would happen for fiscal year 18. For college contribution, I'm not sure, because it seems that every year we need to approach to them and ask for money. So this is the thing that we need to do for fiscal year 18 to make sure that they still want to continue supporting the group program. And with the tight budget, maybe we need to raise the bar. So right now, we are awarding applicants who score 85% or above, 85% or above of the total score. So maybe in the future, we may need to raise it to 90%. So if you look at figure 8, you see that about 70% of our current awardees, they actually get 90% and above. So maybe with 90% or above, we can, cut off, about 30% of awardees, which I don't really want to do, but with the tight budget, maybe we should raise the threshold a little bit. And recently, I got some emails from students asking about whether we would want to add a travel-related expense to the research grant. I guess this may not be the first time you hear about this, but right now it seems that people are raising concerns because they're thinking that the setup of the REAP program is not fair to people who only need to travel for research. So they're thinking that because they don't need any supplies, they don't need any equipment, they don't need to pay for subject, but they only need to do field work. So the only research-related cost is the travel costs. So they're saying that right now we have 2 different groups of people who can apply for a travel grant for conference travel and also a research grant for their research. But we also have another group of people who can only use travel grant for both their research because the research is only field work. And also they can only use travel grant for their conference-related expense. So they're thinking this is not really fair to them. So I'm just thinking that how can we address this? Do we really want to add travel-related expense back to research and get rid of the travel, the fieldwork-related travel in the travel grant? So this is the thing that we may need to think about.
Well, I'm just thinking, like if I were to do research, it'd be you traveling to a library and hanging out for a week. That's what the equivalent would be. And so, no, there's no way in which the REAP grant would cover something like that.
Not currently.
Not the way it's constructed.
Just me.
So I think the main concern is that if does really suck that certain people don't need, okay, I'm gonna rephrase that. While some people are lucky enough to not need to buy anything to do their research, there are also some graduate students, professional students who don't do research at all and could never take advantage of a research grant anyway. And also there are some students who never travel at all and never take advantage of a travel grant. I don't think that's a good reason to drastically modify either of our programs, just because certain people's programs do not force them to take advantage.
I would just like to say, as somebody who does have to travel to conduct research, it is annoying because what it basically does is it limits what you can apply to, right? Because you either have to decide, am I gonna request money to go do field research or am I gonna request money to go to a conference? However, I think that Janelle is kind of addressing some of this because now you have up to $1,000 if you're gonna do international travel. So and you should always be trying to find another outside source for funding because most conferences do have a pool of money for graduate students. And most departments here on campus do keep a little pool
Yeah.
aside to help fund or offset some of the costs for either summer research or conference travel. So I don't think that this is really an issue. I would stick to your guns on this one. I guess excuse me for being there, but I think that, you know, Janelle really outlined like we're gonna try and expand that way that people know that this is what all travel grants cover, because technically they cover all that right now. People just don't really think
I
about.
think
So I think that you're fine, honestly. I wouldn't really give too much credence.
I think
to
the
that.
issue that the students are raising is that because of the regulation of one travel grant per year, that they think that, well, for some people they can use one travel grant for the conference and then they can use the research grant for their research. But for the people who only need to travel to research, if they use the one travel grant for their research, then they're not able to use the
For the
travel grant for,
conference,
yeah. Although the maximum amount, maybe for the research, they only ask for like 500,
Yeah.
which is for international travel, for example, but they think that they are not given another opportunity.
Well, I would think that this would be a conversation that they should have with Janelle then, because
Yeah,
it would seem like you should be able to request going, like if you say I needed $750 to fund my airfare and then I wanted $250 for airfare to a conference, I should be able to request $1,000 total and say these are the things I'm gonna use it for, especially
Yeah.
with this new system,
Yeah.
because there's such a more detailed breakdown.
mhm,
So I would just go,
Yeah.
like, work with her on that and say,
Mhm.
this is a suggestion I have, and that's something that we can talk to her about.
yeah, yeah,
Because I think that that would clarify that even more.
yeah.
I had a few questions for you. One, you talked about we paying people their unspent funds as stipends if they don't use it by the end of the year.
Yeah.
Are we allowed to do that?
Yes, we've been doing it.
Oh, we've done it in the past.
Yeah,
Okay.
we've been doing it.
We just don't like to.
We don't recommend it.
Okay, second question for you is, do we need to increase the funds from 1,000 to 2,000 again? Is that a recommendation you would make? Or are we fine at, do you think that taking it down to 1,000, did it hurt the program in any way? Do you recommend that we raise that back?
If we, right now, I think that with the budget,
I mean for next fiscal year, because it appears that we may have some additional funds, and I'm trying to see what areas might need that the most.
I would say maybe 2,000 is maybe too much.
1,005,
The maximum
2,000?
that I would recommend would be 1,500
Okay.
compared to like other research grants on campus, especially if we don't fund travel related stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
And with regards to college funding, you're right. Whoever is in this road next year will need to follow up with deans
Yeah.
to get our funds. We might get more. I think last year we got 6 colleges to contribute 2,000 each.
Yeah.
We can get more than that for sure, and I'm optimistic that we will, but you might need to send out a report as well to them of what we used their money
Yeah.
for this year
Mhm.
and why we want more. And lastly, regarding raising the bar, I don't know how that is going to affect the program in other ways, in the sense that we might be turning away, or we might be turning down people's application even though we have more than enough money to give out. I don't know, but I guess that's up to you and the committee and how you guys want to decide that. Any other questions or comments for Charlotte? Other than that, thanks so much for making our time to come. Kevin, I think you're next.
Sure. Hello everyone, I just sent an email with the latest balance sheet and also just a reminder of the budget that was approved back in the fall, so you have an idea of what I was approved to spend and what my spending is right now. I was approved to spend $64,480, and right now I spent about close to $35,000. So I still have $30,000 in my budget that is waiting to spend, but then most of some of the bigger events has not finished. The cost has not finished coming in yet. Showcase, the final cost for Showcase is not final, but I'm still waiting for certain charges to turn up. And then with GPSA week coming up, Grass Slam is in progress, and we still have the statewide Grass Slam that we help getting our students up to the Phoenix campus. So with that in mind, I wouldn't recommend doing anything to the rest of the year since all those events have already been scheduled and it's just a matter of them happening. GPSA week is next week. Apologize, I do not have a very thorough report right now because I've been bogged down by Showcase and then Grass Slam GPSA week right now. So I'm going to go through a little bit more informally of where everything is. So also just a reminder, out of my entire budget, there are incomes that come into GPSC through the VPR, the Office of Profits, that cover certain events. I put those as a separate income over on my balance sheet, but I did not put, it's not part, I could not conciliate with the budget because you guys knocked down international student pickup based on my actual cost and not my actual expenditure on the budget when you guys approved it. So if I do that, if I try to reconcile this just becomes a little messy, so just look at the expenditure, but know that there's income coming through elsewhere. Couple of things this year, our program just been growing a lot this year on multiple fronts. So it's been time-wise, it's been a little time-consuming. I do recommend if you want to keep up the size of the events for next year, this position really needs either a committee to help or some sort of administrator to just help out with some of the busy work. I've been working a lot this year, more than what I should be doing to make sure all the events happens, and it really needs some help, or certain events might need cutting. So I do have a list of recommendations that I actually sent to Claudia and Chrissy for review a couple of weeks ago, so I'm going to reiterate some of these so that you guys have an idea of what I recommended to them. Because Claudia and Chrissy wants to review the entire events program as well and give recommendations, but I figure I'll let you guys know what it is. So last year, 15-16 was a transitional year for Student Showcase, so expenses were higher for Showcase compared to previous year. That's why it was more expensive last year. This year, the cost for Showcase is coming down now that we know what we're doing, but I don't know the exact cost until everything comes in right now. And we got a discount because one of our vendor messed up setup somewhere, so we got a small discount elsewhere. So I'm going to go through the events one by one so that you guys have an idea of what I'm talking about. So from the beginning of the year, the first big event we have is International Wildcat Pickup. We do get support from the International Student Services in the amount of $500, but I do highly recommend that this program be completely handed over to International Student Service. The number of grad students that we pick up during this event is a very small percentage compared to the entire group of students that we pick up, and that it feels like this event deviates from the GPSC mission goals in serving graduate students. In this program, we serve such a small amount of graduate students. It is a huge drain of manpower right now because it's graduate orientation. We don't have enough people to help during summer. If we could scrap this program, and we can still probably help them out in terms of help them out transition and find some other ways to help International Services with this, but we should not be the one hosting this. So by scrapping this program, you will probably save about $2,000 here. The next big event we have is graduate orientation. The biggest expense for graduate orientation are the meal planning cards for lunch for the incoming students, which is over half of the overall expense. And the other big expenses are the GPSC t-shirts that we hand out, which has been a tradition for many years. If we do have to cut down on costs, I would recommend that we not do lunch for incoming students and that they try to feed themselves. because they seem to like the t-shirts a lot more than anything else. Like most students come there not for a free lunch but for the free t-shirt. So something for you guys to ponder if you know this document was written out you know in case there should be budget cut next year, since we don't know what our budget might be next year. At the same time, graduate orientation, we're a co-host with Graduate College, and we should really get more support from the Graduate College on this event. Right now, we do get money from Graduate College, but none of those are going towards the event. So we should talk to them about that, or kind of reconfigure where the money coming from Grad College should be going. And then in fall, we also have North Campus Breakfast. We do one in fall and the second one in spring is wrapped under GPSA week. There's not much change I would like to make for this event because it's one of the few events that GPSA does to reach out to students not for Speedway. Last year when we were discussing budget, it was one of the events that I recommended taking off in order to save money, but all the North Campus GPSA reps were highly against not having one in fall. So it was kept for this fall, and we will always have one in spring. So I will not do anything with that. So that's that. So workshops. The current way of workshops that I run, we set up collaborations for workshops with other offices on campus, so it's not a huge strain on our side because I don't have to plan for workshop syllabus, workshop agendas. I just need to provide supplies room and all the marketing things, but then our partners will take care of running the workshop. So this really helps, and we can reach out to more and more students at a minimal cost. I recommend keeping the budget the same for workshops next year to allow for growth, and since we're probably underspending for the workshops this year already, so let's if we can keep it where it is, it will allow for growth for next year as well. Student showcase. Showcase is just expensive. There's not much we can do about it. I don't have the final cost for this year yet, but we're probably looking around $25,000 to $28,000, of which $15,000 is sponsored by the RDI, the Office of Research, Discovery, and Innovation, and the Office of Provost. Showcase is growing, so we have a record high of 150 students applying this year, and we were able to take in 130 students, which were originally, I had it set up for 120. I tried to squeeze in some more students at the last minute. So should we expand more, we will need another tent on the mall and then another setup. So with that, if we do want to grow Showcase, we're looking at another $5,000 to make sure we can fit in another tent and fit in at least, another 50 students underneath the tent. So Grad College also did mention that Student Showcase that I talked to them that they can help us next year to help find more donors and work closer with Foundation on this event. We do attract a lot of people at Showcase, but we're a little lackluster in terms of trying to draw in more UA donors or work closer with Foundation on Showcase. So this may help elevate the cost in the future next year. So Student Showcase is one of those that have a lot of components that I really would like to do more on, but I just do not have time to do everything. GPSA week. It hasn't happened yet. It's next week. The biggest expense in GPSA week is the More Barbecue, where we do a barbecue open for all the grad and professional students on campus. It cost almost $9,000 last year. That's almost 2/3 of the entire GPSA week budget. I do recommend for next year we cut that and do cut some smaller events instead that we can impact similar amount of students. We usually at the Mall Barbecue reach somewhere between 300 to 500 students, and I feel like if we do smaller events that would cost less and we can reach out to a similar amount of students. I will keep all the other events at GPSA week right now as the cost is relatively minimal compared to the Mall Barbecue. Grassland. Grassland is co-hosted by us and the Graduate Center. Cost is probably lower this year. I don't have the final cost yet because we're halfway through Grassland right now. Then compared to last year, since we're hosting the final in the Student Union, which is free to us due to the Memorandum of Understanding. Last year we did it at the Stevie Elliott Theater over at the School of Dance. So I would recommend not changing the budget for Grassland as the location might change from year to year depending on what Graduate Center and GPSC decides to do depending on which direction we're going. Currently Grassland provide most of the labor for this event, and GPSA helps with most of the logistics and also supply labor. I've been on site for Grassland the entire week last week, pretty much from 10 to 2:30. So those are some of the things that happens at Grassland. We do not sponsor the prizes. The money for Grassland all goes towards logistics and supplies. The prizes are sponsored by various offices on campus, so those are not part of the cost. And then we have one more thing coming up is the Arizona Freeman Grassland, which is a statewide Grassland. We have $1,500 allocated for it. So some of the money for this is essentially we're helping get the finalists at the UA to get to the Phoenix Medical Campus where the final of the statewide final is happening, so that the students can get up there. The students can bring friends with them, so that we have actually a representation of UA over in the Phoenix territory. So we most likely won't spend the entire amount, but I don't know the exact amount since cap trend rate changes every year. That's all I have for now. Those are some of my recommendations, and for next year, should there be budget cuts and things like this. Are there any questions related to events this year?
Does anyone have any questions for events? I do have a few questions for you.
Go for it.
Based on your current budget, how much are we going to have as a rollover?
Say again.
Based on your current spending and budget, how much do you foresee us having as a rollover to next year's accounts?
Right now, because a lot of my charges don't come in until a couple of weeks later, and then we get discounts left and right. Right now, ballpark estimate, I probably have like about $5,000 left over.
5,000.
But and that's my guess.
Okay.
I really don't know because some of those
between
don't
that
come.
range, anyways.
Somewhere between, yeah. I mean, like conservatively speaking, probably like $2,000 to $3,000, but I have a feeling we might hit $5,000.
So let's say $3,000 to be conservative.
Yes.
The few other comments, you mentioned having a committee administrator to help. I think Carol is willing to help with a lot of the
I
work.
have already been using Carol a lot this
and you
year.
still need additional help.
Some of those things just it's not appropriate for someone in Carol's position. Say something like reaching out to donors, reaching out to foundation. I know Sarah's been working on some of those, but that person needs to understand and be involved in the planning from the get-go.
Another recommendation I would have is to leverage on marketing committee. I think they would also be willing to help with that. With international student pickup, have you discussed with them that you want to pull up?
I just interject quickly. Part of the problem is Kevin is on the marketing committee, so there's only one other person besides me. And I've tried to get people to meet, and Kevin has been responsive, but neither the one person who was originally on the marketing committee nor the person, I had somebody switch out and somebody else came on, neither of them responded to my emails. So if we want to have the marketing committee work on events, which would be absolutely fine and in their purview and appropriate and great and wonderful, people actually need to respond to their emails.
So essentially what you're saying is we need to have a more active committee starting next year. Well, hopefully next council and president will be able to work on that. I don't know if there's so much we can do at this point in the year.
That's why I just gave up.
Then to your other comment about international student pickup, I want to be sure that we've spoken to ISS
We have
before.
not yet.
So I would say until we speak to them and come to terms with them, we shouldn't pull that program because
This is a suggestion for GC to decide.
so my recommendation is, how about you hint that to them and let's see where they stand. If they're willing to take it up from us, then we can have that vote at the GC. I wouldn't recommend voting to take it away,
Okay.
and then they too will say they're not interested in doing it. I think it's gonna not help anybody. So just have that conversation with them first. And grad orientation, I'm gonna try and talk to Dean Kanye and see how much they can put into that, but I won't guarantee anything. Already Grant College gives us significant amounts.
Correct, but none of those are allocated to events.
I think that's a decision that's made at the GC level. So maybe the GC needs to reshuffle things and say what goes where. But I think Grant College already gives us significant contribution. I think those are my comments or questions. I don't have any, and if no one has any other, I would be happy to move on to the next agenda. But Kevin and Charlie, thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sarah, I think, is still outside. Club and POD had a class. Nicholas just got here. Do you want to jump in and give your report. Thanks for coming.
Sure.
New look and great new look.
What?
Your look.
You look good.
Oh, I thought you were calling me Luke. So hello everyone. So as you've probably noticed from emails from everyone, the fee survey led to some changes following the ABOR meetings and all that jazz. So we do have the fee freeze, athletics is opt out, and that would not have happened probably without talking to admin as much as we did during the assessment of that project. For the rest of the year, technically I am required to do 4 mandatory assessment projects. One of my proposals in this report to y'all is to reconsider the scope of the institute director. My experience has been that I can't really foresee or produce like goals or vision for assessment for all of the GPSC, so I can't just like write random surveys without a lot of input, and I've really received quite marginal input only from Jasmine and Daniel throughout the entirety of the semester, and Jude and Danielle. But I think in the future, not only do I and institutional assessment out of student affairs think that it's inappropriate to mandate 4 assessment projects just due to survey fatigue and like that kind of being a little bit of a waste of time and our money, I would recommend in the future a revisiting of the institute director's like position description. Because I also don't think you're gonna spend the money allocated on me for me, so I'd rather have that go elsewhere and see what we think in the future. But Jude and Danielle and I will discuss that. 2 surveys that we did discuss for the rest of the year are a career survey and a resource and scarcity survey. So basically I just asked June and Danielle, and again, this was sent out the last time I was here in January, but just for what a preference is, because I realistically don't think with the duration of the term left that both of those will happen. So if anyone has a great interest in either of those, please let me know. Or if you have any other pressing assessment concerns that you think would be more worthwhile.
I think that you could probably save, if you stay on, I think that you could save the career one for next year and maybe work over the summer or something with career services to kind of come up with something together. And then that would be a way of not having 4 surveys, but also collaborating, because I think that that would be an easy way, because other bodies on campus are sending out surveys all the time anyway. So if we collaborate, we could still have 4 surveys, but it wouldn't be 4 that you necessarily start to finish, right, et
Just
cetera.
my contention is that without the necessary help and like vision and input of both the general counsel and the executive board, it's a little bit of a press and kind of a waste of both my time and like assessment's time to kind of just be like, well, we sort of talked about this, let's try to make it work. Like in the future, I would like to see a little bit more input from reps in their college, because I think we could be doing a lot more for individual colleges that we just simply aren't, because no one's responding to requests for input or suggestions, with few exceptions. But yeah, so I'm going to start probably the scarcity one that no one has any further suggestions.
That's the one I would want to send out.
And both you and Jasmine gave me great suggestions when we talked about that last, so thank you guys. But yeah, that's
Which one did they give you suggestion on? Career or scarcity?
seriously, yeah.
What do you guys say if we still put up that survey this year, or you want to leave it up to next year entirely? I mean, we still have 1 more month.
I would
And
recommend
it's-
using it till next year, just
Okay.
because we've already had some pretty high profile surveys this year.
Yeah,
Not
That's
just from Nick.
2.
Yeah.
Oh,
No, but there's also the one from, the student
Student
unions,
union.
which was
That's
also a
great.
fairly high profile survey.
Yeah.
So I would recommend that we wait until next year for that last survey, because, if nothing else, odds are we're not gonna put together an entirely brand new survey in the first month of next year, so
Yeah.
we'll already have one ready to go.
And my other perspective is that I think we have access to a lot of data that could be mined. Like I think why I would suggest doing a revision of the position description is that it could be a lot more worthwhile for the entire like body of JPSC to data mine and do some internal assessment rather than viewing assessment just as what we need to throw out a survey, because we don't necessarily get the most useful information. And if you look at the website, it's very clear that 4 assessment projects have not happened per year ever.
Okay, with regards to the review, I would recommend that I can work with you and start up something, but I think it will be more, and Daniel as well, that's right. But I think it will be more helpful if the next executive team have an input as well. They'll be making those hiring. Are you planning to stay on next year?
It depends on some other
Okay,
factors.
if you're gonna be here next year, you'll be working with the new president and EVP, so I think it will be necessary to have that conversation with them as well.
I just
not
think that
me.
the current verbiage within the position description lends itself to being very constraining, and it doesn't necessarily have to be like that. But I also think that there could be a reduction in the stipend that's available. We could move half of that to other budget items.
Okay.
But that's just my suggestion, but I'm happy to talk about that at length elsewhere.
I think I have looked at it, but it says 4
It
surveys.
says 4 surveys.
Okay, well then we could just
Yeah.
change that to 4 assessment projects and then they could do whatever, right?
Yeah, but realistically, it's like my problem with that is that I could do 4 assessment projects, but no one has given me really anything to work with on this. And my other problem with having 4 surveys is that we got pretty decent response rates on both of them. They were higher than what assessment normally gets within the division. But it's that's not gonna happen all the time. And I think there could just be some position restructuring that lends itself to a more productive use of time for everyone. That results in a lot more relevant and productive data for the GPSC.
Okay, does anyone have any other questions?
Does anyone have any questions about the results of the fee survey or anything, travel grants, if you care about that?
I bet you did a good job.
Yeah, super.
Did you find anything that you found super interesting?
I mean, the entirety of the fee survey, and Jude and I talked about this, was very not revelatory because we already kind of knew what graduate students thought, but it was productive and
I think it had some impact. At least one of the questions.
It was worthwhile to do, but I wasn't shocked by anything.
Yeah, well, that's true, but at least one of the questions we posed on the survey, we got that from our discussions, which was about the fee freeze, the fee guarantee. We're able to secure that, and I think
so that was a worthwhile
Yeah.
part of the editing and drafting process of that, but yeah, to answer your question, not a lot really that was shocking.
Gene.
Yeah, well, probably the most, you have a very good point that we as grad students didn't learn anything surprising from that survey. The purpose of the survey was not to inform grad students about what other grad students think. It was to document to the Board of Regents
Yeah, exactly.
what grad students think. And the Board of Regents seems to not have a good idea of what grad students think.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, one thing that I was disappointed by was that and this is in large part due to my involvement in the last 4 years, was just the general lack of awareness of what fees were being paid and kind of a generalized apathy from the graduate and professional students. But again, that wasn't shocking to me. But yeah, so I think that in the future, moving forward, we can identify more things that are adequately driven.
Sorry to interrupt. Mr. Collins. Yes, I'm Officer Barber with the University of Arizona Police Department. You would not mind joining me outside to talk for a minute?
Certainly. I would like to press charges against this woman and this woman.
All right, we can talk about that out here. Just join me out here, Mr. Collins.
I can do the talking.
All right.
Sorry to interrupt real quick. Sorry I have to do this. I have to get some information.
Can you please join? You were asked to join.
Sorry?
We were absolutely not asked to join.
Sorry, can we hear from the officer, please? Everybody, let me.
I thought.
Maria, can I hear from the officer, please?
I understand, but can you please let me finish? I thought Jim requested those 2 women to be.
Jim does not have the right to request us to join.
Sir.
No.
Okay.
Can
You
you,
need to talk to him out there, that's it.
can you go ahead with your comments?
Yes, I know, I understand there was an incident that occurred in here with, is his name Jim?
Yes.
Jim Collins?
So everybody that's here now was in here for that incident, is that?
With the exception of Nick.
Yeah,
He was not here.
Okay. Who's willing to talk to me about that?
I'm willing to talk to you.
Document.
Okay. All right, well, I'll start with you, Sue.
Okay. You're, hallway?
We'll go out.
Alright.
Alright, Nick, were you done with your,
Yeah, if no one has any like further questions or suggestions or comments to really hash out, I'm good.
I would move on to the next person, and I believe it's you, Warren. Let's get through this agenda as quick as we can.
So just an update. So with the first thing was the what's the appropriate term?
What's the name used?
What's the name used on the
Donation?
No, the repository.
Okay.
So I spoke more with Claudia and Megan, and the original thought was to sort of have them link up with the shared drive that's stored in the sausage, but the consensus I got was to just leave how everything is right now, because there's no complaints. If it's not broken, they'll fix it. So all I'm doing right now is just moving stuff from Dropbox into UA Box. I've already contacted all the admins that use UA Box, and I think Charlotte was the only one that was using it for her reprogram. So she is currently using the UA Box instead of Dropbox. It's about like 60% done. There's a lot of odds and ends that needs to be transferred, but it's a little bit tedious thing to do using the web interface with Dropbox and stuff like that. But one thing I noticed too as well is I know since we're talking about UA Box, there were some thoughts of using UA Box to share resources with the general GC. I'm not sure. Megan sent me a file which is a resignation template. I don't know what else would need to be included in that GC folder. I noticed there was some files in Dropbox that could go in there that I believe Junhyun created in the past, just a couple of templates and whatnot. One thing cool about Box is that you can share the public link and also have it password protected, so only the GC members can get access to it. So that would be a good resource, or even for the EB itself if you wanted to share specific files and whatnot. So the donate page is up already. Thanks to everyone who made that content possible. Possibly looking to add a picture to it. Not too sure yet, haven't found a good picture yet. If you have something suitable, let me know. The other new project is the press release section, requested by Jude.
The what?
A press release
okay.
section.
Cool.
So one thing that I was throwing out an idea to the EB board and to the admins was, do we also want to include press releases that would highlight some of the programs? I personally think it's a good idea. That way you can use that to solicit donation and to highlight how we are such a great resource for the graduate professional student community in general. Right now, Sausage is in the building stages to make that template. I did email out a couple of suggestions to the EB and Megan and Carol, and received some feedback, and we're pushing on towards that. So let me know what you guys decide, whether you want to have admins submit a report or whatnot. Like some of the things that Janelle or Charlotte or even Kevin mentioned, if they want to put those numbers in writing, we can certainly put a nice press release, so to speak. This press release will be in the news section. The way I'm gonna do it is to make sure I clearly differentiate our press release versus news report from other media. So it'll be contained in that one section, GPS in the news. And I think the last thing was some election documents that you mentioned. I haven't heard anything back from Alma yet, so I don't know.
Documents.
To say to update some of the descriptions.
I
haven't
thought she
heard-
said she has gotten back to you on that.
I haven't received an email.
Okay, I'm gonna send a follow-up email right after this meeting. She told me she had gotten to you on that.
Not with regards to that specific position. I didn't receive anything. So.
Okay, but essentially what should be on the website, it's what's on our documents right now.
Right, but I think Alma was gonna get that content to me, but I.
Sorry, can I get clarification on this, because I'm governing docs here, what we are talking about right now?
Oh, it's just to update content on the website which details the description for each member's role that's on the website. It is not currently the latest information that is in line with whatever documentation that was passed by the EB.
I have something that's on a later agenda item, but I'll just go ahead and add it now. I worked with a lot of people on getting this draft finished, but there's now a donate tab specifically up on the GPSC website. It is no longer hidden, hidden away where people have to click multiple times just to get to a donate button. And Wayward sent me the final draft, I think yesterday or 2 days ago for approval. And it's up on the website right now, so you can actually see it, gpsc.arizona.edu/donate, and it's also on the front page.
So that's.
Thanks to everybody who helped, and thank you for making this happen.
Yeah, no worries. So by the way, that's the last horizontal navigation bar we could use. So we're maxed out at the top. So that's about it. I think there were, so since we're talking about donate, I think Janelle mentioned to me some time ago to put in, to highlight some departments who've donated to travel grants, which I have on the travel grants page. But I think it would be great too at some point if, you know, we can highlight those departments and whoever that donates to GPS in general. I'm thinking sort of towards the bottom of the main page. I believe we could do that by adding logos and
Yeah, for donors, that would be.
for the donors. Just at the bottom, it'll be part of the header. So I'm not sure whether I don't think every page will see it, but let me click on something real quick. No, actually, the bottom grayed out part, which is, I'll call it the footer, seems to be uniform throughout whatever pages you click on. So I'll have to talk to Sausage to see what they think about it in terms of, you know, because they have more of the experience in terms of how it look like on a mobile and stuff like that.
Well, we can probably put it at the bottom below the GPSC mission, or like on a sidebar, like kind of how events is, like have another module under events that has like donors, and then we could, you know how like grants and awards and events has drop downs? After that, we can have it where if you click on donate, it'll go straight to the donate info, but there'll also be a drop down with like our donors or something where we like, thanks so much to our donors who contributed in this year, and then we can have, you know, fiscal year 2016-17, fiscal year 17-18, fiscal year 18-19, and then recognize people that have, you know, contributed over time.
We kind of had that initially with the partners on the about page, but never like had any current
Partners, that would be great.
mention.
Partners at the down tab.
But yeah, I think if we can actually get some partners and move that up, I think that we should absolutely be like promoting anybody who helps us. Yeah.
So we actually have a partners page.
Yeah, and I think I'm gonna ask the Sausage to make the about button at the top as a drop down so people can easily see the 9 sections.
Oh, awesome.
I think it's just a pain.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if you click on the about, there's actually no real text to explain anything, so. But I'll just have to do that. I think that's it.
I wonder, Wayne, if we should just
Yes.
put the mission statement, about GBC, mission statement, and then if we don't need anything more texty than that.
In the about section, or?
Yeah, just right there about GBC, but just have the mission statement right there. And then it can still be with the governing docs, but that was what the,
Or like drop everything down, just have a text
yeah,
header under about GPSC.
that's basically it. That's
Are you,
what we do.
are we asking for, like,
I'm sorry, I'm not
Like
getting,
Yeah.
I'm a
between
visual
here
person, so-
and here,
Okay.
yeah,
Just the mission
put the
statement.
mission statement from
I
mission and
think we
governing
have a
documents.
mission statement on
Do you
the
want me
homepage
to
already.
in
get rid of
between
that section then, or?
No, because the governing documents can still be in there, but
I was just wondering if you could just slide the pictures down and put, just, because you
So
said you
just
needed text
insert
there,
that.
I don't think we.
Well,
need more text.
what I'm saying is, what I implied was that to have the about as a drop down at the top, because there's actually real no text.
Okay.
When you click the about, there's really no text, it just shows you the different sections, so instead of
Okay.
making someone
That makes more sense.
click that, and then,
Okay. That's fine too.
okay, cool. Sorry.
No worries.
So it's gonna take away all of these pictures we have if you make it a drop down.
No, that people can still click the about page,
Okay.
but they can easily get to what they want
I see.
with the drop down.
I think that's
wonderful.
okay with me. I don't see a problem. We shouldn't do it. Why we shouldn't do that? That's fine with me. All right. Any questions or comment for Warren? Other than that, Sarah, we'll go back to you. We skipped you earlier.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Okay. So, since we don't have like the projector, I can send you the one little like thing I have that you can look at later. But so I did not get as much done as I was hoping to this semester, but I did complete a newsletter template in MailJet, which is the service we've used before. And so unless we find another one, I know that was like the cheapest. I have all of the contacts for all of the development staff within each college, because what we determined was we need to actually talk to the colleges and say, okay, we don't want to go and like bang on individual donors' doors. If you are already trying to get money from them for, engineering, we don't want to step on your toes. So we need to have conversation with each college about how to strategically do that. If we want to go talk to a certain healthcare firm and, none of our colleges are currently working with them, we'll say, okay, just so you know, we're gonna go ask them for money. If you decide to later, let us know, but, if nobody's interested in working with them, we are. But I wasn't able to actually have those conversations with every college. I do have accurate information now regarding our tax status for both the UA and the foundation accounts, and kind of what some of those rules are. So we can have sub-accounts within foundation accounts. We can organize things so it's easier to keep track of where we want that money to be and what we want to use that money for, which is really nice. And Megan and Carol are working on Razor's Edge so that in the future we should be able to target our alumni more specifically, as opposed to graduate professional alumni, which is a huge number, but who don't have a very strong attachment to GPSC. So we were going for, like tons of contacts, but with very little to draw on. And I think once we're able to contact people who have received a travel grant specifically, or have had some contact with GPSC in the past, that's going to be much easier to get them to donate later on, because they actually understand the value. So I set out some long-term and short-term goals so that as this position moves forward, it's not somebody developing a new goal every year, but to say, this is what we're working on long-term, this is what's short-term. I put a 3-year strategic plan in place with specific goals for every year for the next 3 years.
Can you share that with the EB?
Yes, I will. So hopefully, regardless if there's 4 different administrators in this role every year, they know exactly what the goal is for that year specifically, and they can come in and say, okay, I have no idea what was done last year, but I know this year I'm supposed to X, Y, and Z. I can work on it. And that is about it. So I will send that out to all of you guys so you have those points, and then I mean, it's not very interesting, but a newsletter kind of with
The
just.
monthly newsletter?
Yep.
Oh, I see.
So it'll be a template that somebody can, whoever is doing it, I think the development person should probably do it, but I mean, anybody could really. There'll be a spot for like graduate student highlight of the month. We pick somebody who got Fulbright, who, and just say, hey, look at what graduate professional students are doing. A GPSC program highlight for the month. We pick one program and say, just tell people about it. This is how many students we reach, yada, 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 and a specific way that they can get involved. So it's homecoming, whatever, or it's showcase. We want to see you at showcase, or whatever it is, to kind of give people a specific point to engage in. So there'll be those 3 things every month. So it's not very complicated, but it keeps people involved with the organization, with students, and then with something they can benefit from. So that's the concept. It should be pretty simple. So.
Alright,
I would just
Daniel.
like to say, thank you for listening to me at the fundraising meeting. We really haven't talked a lot since then, but I mean, it's nice to know that I don't have to say, because basically we didn't hire Sarah until November, so I think that, we knew that there was gonna be a learning curve from November until April/May, and we were like, realistically, we don't think we're gonna come in and raise $50,000 this year, right? Like, that's an unattainable goal. If we hit that, that would be magical and amazing. But I think that you really listened to me in my goal of getting a long-term strategy in place that people can use and have the framework to build off of in the coming years. That way we can really actually grow this and start doing the boots on the ground fundraising. So thank you so much for that. I am really happy to hear what you come up with.
So all your stuff needs to be in a box then?
Yeah.
Yes, really, yes.
Yes.
Make sure that there's a fundraising/development box.
Wait, sorry, are you Mac or what's your
Development?
Development.
Development.
Straight
There needs to be a box for that, and
There
the
is,
VP should
there
have
is.
access to it as well.
So I
okay.
think I highlighted how the box structure would be some time ago, but there's one for every admin position, and then you would just start a folder with the fiscal year, or you can do whatever you want, like important read me first or folder or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alright, any other question or comment for Sarah? Sarah, thank you. Thanks for getting started with a game plan for future years. I think that was really the goal, as Daniel mentioned, not necessarily raising any money this year. So thanks for that. Please do send that information to the EB so we can have a record of that. You guys are welcome to stay if you want to, and you can also leave if you want to.
I got a quick question for Sarah. Do you say newsletter to the listener or
To alumni,
It
right?
would be
To alumni.
to alumni.
And
So
donors.
And
yeah,
donors.
so it wouldn't necessarily. I guess we could send it to the listserv, but that wasn't the
GPSC
initial.
listserv?
Yeah.
Nothing stops
did you want to
us.
put it on the website, or is that something you want to highlight?
Yeah, I think we should probably put it on the website somehow, because it should, ideally, it'll be a nice little compact.
Where's the press release section going?
It's just a template.
Going to be in GPSC
Yeah.
News
Doesn't have
in the about section, and then
This
So
template doesn't
should
have
we
like
have
any
about
information
GPSC
that will
news
changing.
and
So
Yeah.
it sounds like it needs to go in your box.
Newsletter.
Like
well,
a-
it's part going to be.
It's compli-
The title might be changing, like GPSC Press or something. I don't know.
Right, press releases, but I'm saying under GPSC about, maybe we could also have or under donate, we could have
Alumni newsletter.
donation newsletter.
Or
Like
under
a-
donates, I think I will have something under the donate page.
Mhm.
And
Like
just
a
give me
keep
the
in
name.
touch with us,
Yeah,
or
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah,
Just
some
give me
kind
the
of
actual
an
name.
UA alumni.
yeah.
Would it wouldn't,
We can also
wouldn't the
connect it in and
alumni,
get something on theirs maybe.
wouldn't the alumni department have more resources versus us trying to?
We have all those resources. That's how we did it for the gala, is we say we want all students from the last 25 years who graduated with any kind of graduate or professional degree, and they send us all the contacts and we send it to them.
Okay.
Yeah, so they've been really helpful, because there's no way we can track those people down.
Ideally, ideally, I wouldn't want to mess with the nine sub-paving, because you're gonna throw it off.
Your argument is great though, because we do need to be doing more work with alumni associations. I think that if we actually connect to them and say, hey, how about having a specific GPSC or like grad student heading, and then having our like updates for donors, that would be really fantastic, right?
All right, any other question for Sarah or comments? In the absence of none, we'll now move on to Jesse Baxter. It's you next, I think.
All right.
All right. Again, I'm sorry to bother you guys. Is there anybody else that would like to talk to me about tonight?
I can talk to you, you need more info or corroborate anything.
All right, are you leaving? All right, so yeah? Yeah, that's fine. That's all.
Bye.
Please go for it. Sorry guys, today's meeting has been one of our best so far. We'll get through it. Jesse.
Hey, I call a Monday Night Fight Club for a reason. I just sent out a not all-inclusive, but it's an overview of some of the activities that I've been doing, highlighting what I've done in the spring semester, because I know I sent one out in the fall, so not to just repeat everything I've already said. I'll just briefly go over it because you have all this in writing, and then I want to talk about some ideas, future goals, that kind of stuff.
Where did you send your email? I don't have it.
I don't have any.
Sorry, to EB, to the executive board?
I will approve it.
Oh,
great, thank you.
Approximately 30 seconds.
And when I said just sent it, I meant just sent it.
I think maybe one thing people don't realize is that like I have been manually approving like 10 emails a day for the past 3 days.
Justin probably hates me because I always send her the wrong email.
So if there's ever a delay between like when I send an email and everyone else gets it, it's because I was probably like in the bathroom or something.
Alright, we got it. Cool.
Okay, so NAGPS just attended the legislative action and advocacy days in Washington, D.C. I presented to the first-time attendees for about an hour and 15 minutes, and it was a good back-and-forth conversation, and got a lot of feedback from the first-time attendees, and that kind of re-motivated me to revisit my goal with GPSC, which was to do a similar type of training, even if it is just the same kind of conversational format on what is advocacy versus education, how to get involved, why is it important, what to expect, all of those good things. So just got back from doing that. I've been participating in the monthly legislative affairs committee calls and trying to get engaged with the Western region as well. They are, at this point, inactive, but they are getting ready to do their regional conference here at the end of April, so I'm hoping that as that approaches, they will get going more, start doing calls, start doing something.
Who's the chair this year?
For the West?
Yeah.
Everybody.
Oh, maybe
No,
that's
it's
why.
a guy at ASU.
No.
Press.
Oh.
Press West.
He hasn't been on the calls lately. Not throwing
Yeah, like none of the
Really?
regional people are on the call, so the updates are like, okay, next item. The monthly calls have not had that much substance to them. And so I actually think there's an opportunity for GPSC and the U of A to have a larger presence there. And I think that there's an opportunity for us to really kind of drive that narrative, because no one else really seems to have much of a vision. And I know that our internal groups and definitely the executive board has a lot of opinions on issues that I think would benefit the the national efforts. We did the Hill visits, I met with Cinema's office. It was a good meeting, her staff was, very up to date on the issues on the University of Arizona. Had NAU flag and ASU flag, and first thing out of his mouth was, we've asked for 3 years to get a U of A flag. So I coordinated with the federal office here with Shannon, and the flag has been ordered, and they will be getting their flag.
Thank you.
So that's, you know, it's a small success, but a success nonetheless. And that office was super friendly. I mean, Congressman Sinema is a student and a professor and probably more up to speed on the issues that students face. Haven't seen her be a champion as much as I would like, but hopefully through a little relationship building, we can encourage that kind of activity. We also had a lot of conversations with ASU and NAU about how we can collaborate. I teased them relentlessly every time I spoke about U of A being the superior school, but that we could all partner. And so hopefully the beginning of that is that we are requesting a joint proclamation for Graduate Professional Student Appreciation Week through the governor's office. However, our buddies at ASU have not sent a draft yet, so if I don't get that by tomorrow, I'm going to send a draft to the group and see. It's a pretty simple process to request it, so I don't think it'll be a problem getting it through the governor's office. And then I will also send a similar proclamation, but again, supporting all students in the state and not just U of A, really to highlight the fact that we have online students, we have U of A students who live in Phoenix, we have Tucson residents who attend ASU School of Social Work, and on, to try to highlight how far and large the reach of the university system is. So overall, I've met with Congressman Grijalva's office, McSally's office, Sinema's office. I've talked on the phone with Ruben Gallego's office and Sam Gray's office. Really, I don't think we're gonna get a ton of federal action that is beneficial to us, so I think there might be some wisdom in not advocating that they take action, because I think any action they take would be damaging for us. That came up, NHEPS is really wanting to redefine sexual assault through Congress, and Sinema's office was really pointed. They said you wouldn't want any definition that came out of this Congress, and I tend to agree with that. And so I've been talking with Sam and that group to make sure that they understand that while it is a good idea, it could pose a huge risk. At the state level, again, I think that's where we probably have the most legislative action pending that could be positive for us. I am rescheduling. I just sent Mike another group of dates for Wildcat Wednesday, which will no longer be on a Wednesday. It will probably be on Monday or a Tuesday, but the same idea. And my last conversation with him was if we can send out even 2 or 3 of us, it's meaningful. And then he thinks that those conversations can really push some of the legislators that some of the other groups are hesitant to go in and challenge. I circulated the petition. We've done the hashtag FundAZ, GPSE, sent 7 videos ultimately, so I'm pretty pleased with our 7 videos to support that campaign. I've had meetings throughout the year with Bruce Wheeler, Dave Bradley, Stephanie Mock, Olivia Cajero Bedford, Steve Farley, Andrea D'Alessandro, and Sally Ann Gonzalez. In the meantime, I have sent letters on behalf of GPSE on our beautiful letterhead to 18 of the legislators from Southern Arizona. I haven't branched out beyond Southern Arizona. And then I sent our cute little thank you cards to 9 representatives who have always kind of historically been good and just saying GPSE thanks you for your ongoing support. Then I go through those issues, collaborating with ASUA. I think there's a lot of opportunity here. They really have the manpower and the resources and not a lot of vision for what to do with that. And I think that we have a lot of vision and not necessarily the manpower. So I think there's a lot of opportunity to to continue to increase collaboration with them. We did the pictures on the mall. I don't think that very many graduate professional students stopped by, and if they didn't identify themselves or go for those signs in particular. But undergraduates like the Fund AZ students signs as well, so that message got delivered through them. I already mentioned collaborating with ASUA and NAU. Hopefully we'll be able to include them in our Wildcat Wednesday efforts. I'm talking to Mike about how that looks to really just beef up the numbers so we can have a lot of graduate professional students in there talking, and then also showing, you know, the statewide support, because I think, you know, Mike says our issues are not with the Southern Arizona legislators. So he wants us to go into, you know, the belly of the beast and talk to some of the more difficult members. And so it might be advantageous to have ASU and U of A, or NAU by our side when we go in there, because, you know, obviously those are their constituents, and those schools don't do anything like that. So it's an opportunity for them, and I think it also supports our overall agenda. I'm going to set up a Twitter account, which I know you all follow every morning, noon, and night for the latest news.
Yes.
Okay, I'm not that good at tweeting yet, but I'm getting used to it, and I kind of like it. And I will also give a shout out to Daniel and Danielle and Jude for their ongoing Twitter presence. And Daniel, you in particular, Mike has mentioned your tweets time and time again. As some of them he's like, I can't retweet that, but that was great. And some of them he's like, oh, I was on that. That was our first one I saw this morning. So I think just even having a few people, both from their personal accounts and then also from the organization accounts, I think that has really assisted. I just saw on the website tonight, there are only 88 people signed up as advocates. And I know that our group internally has probably 10 of those. So it may not be a huge number, but I think that we are supporting the cause. I've talked about this before. I have not had time to do it, but I am still committed to creating a resource guide. I've compiled some of that information. And so at this point, if nothing else, I will do a very small, bare bones resource guide for some of the programs that I think might be most beneficial. I tried to coordinate with our marketing person before she left, and that never happened. So I will get my artist on and create something beautiful for the office, and then hopefully we can also incorporate it in the website. Coordinating some follow-up meetings with McSally's office. I know NAGPS really thinks that there's a lot of opportunity for her to take the lead on some issues, and I don't disagree with that. So I want to try to build that relationship, particularly with the Tucson office, give her a forum so she can come and speak to the university students, particularly graduate and professional students, and then we can also talk to her both in DC and then here locally about the issues that are important to us.
What issues are they kind of looking to her for?
They really want her to take the lead on sexual assault.
Okay.
And I also think that she has some ability to lend voice to healthcare. NAGPS isn't doing much with student loans, which still boggles my mind, but I'm going to continue to talk to her about that because I still think that's the only issue that we should really be talking about.
But she hasn't, recently it didn't seem like her take on healthcare was all that helpful. Am I off?
She hasn't made too much of a statement on healthcare. I think that she's trying to stay out of the Republican back and forth. But as that kind of settles down or perhaps doesn't go anywhere, get her to really perhaps even understand SHIP and some of those issues that are particularly relevant to us, especially if healthcare is caught in limbo.
Okay, cool.
I am meeting this Friday with Dean Shane Burgess, the CALS rep, or the CALS dean, since CALS does not have a representative this year. I'm going to go chat with him. I've emailed back and forth with him, and he is very concerned about the lack of representation. So hopefully we can get this on his radar and he can recruit somebody or.
He wouldn't need to be as EVP.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
is concerned that we don't have a rep, but that's okay.
Tell him he's got a week to find somebody.
Yeah, I sent him the election information, I was like, packets are live, so you can have a Cal's president.
Yeah.
Oh, and I would like to just mention that the deadline has actually been extended to Monday, for anyone who did not already see that email.
We got a full week.
So, yes, and I will be bringing petitions to our happy hour, so,
Right.
On Friday.
yes, on Friday.
That's a great
Okay,
idea.
so, like, let's do this, guys.
That's a great idea. That's a great platform. All right.
Yes, and I will send that out reminder because it was, it's passed and I don't know if you had any opportunity to do anything with that, but hopefully we can do that. I also have a meeting with Shannon Huberger, who is the new Associate VP of UA Federal Relations. Shay Stouts is going to ASU. And so Shannon is taking over there, which I think that's actually really great. I have a lot of respect for Shannon, and I think she'll do great in that role. And I have a really good relationship with her, so hopefully that can continue to thrive and benefit GPSC. My biggest challenges are really increasing engagement with GPSC representatives. I feel like I know and love all of the EV members and get a lot of support and feedback and participation from you guys, so I know I'm preaching to the choir here. But as far as the general counsel, I don't even know a lot of their names. And that's a shortcoming on my part, definitely. But that's been my biggest challenge, is just getting them to respond to an email, engage in anything. And that's something I want to continue to work on going forward. And I also feel like I've had really limited involvement with UA groups. I think that we have been plugged in federally on the state, but there are a lot of policies that happen right here, on this very campus that probably have a bigger and more immediate impact on students than what we're going to see from the federal or state. And I don't feel like I have not a lot of opportunity to engage there. And I think there's a lot of opportunity for, I guess legislative work isn't correct, but policy work. Absolutely, and so those are some of the challenges that I've had. The goals are to host the training with GPSC, possibly with ASUA, because they've expressed some interest in that. And I think if we do it with GPSC, it'll be, you guys. So if they want to, participate, that might be a good opportunity. And then also, maybe throwing it open to all graduate and professional students. I don't think a ton of people would come. But if anybody's interested in that, I think that we would probably have room for them. And I would love it if I was wrong on that and they just all came, charging me and we had a problem. My goal is to draft some content for the GPSC website, particularly for the advocacy platform page, but then also the campus initiatives page have a lot of the same type of work, and I would like to spend some time working on just up-to-date information, but then also kind of like a resource and tools on how to advocate, how to register to vote, yada yada. Host some Wildcat Coffee Clubs, which is an extension of Wildcat Wednesday, but in the district, and maybe even doing it here on campus, a room like this, something, and having a little coffee, inviting a legislator or 5, and even if it's, again, just us coming, I think that's meaningful, and that's one of the things that Mike has been building as well. And I wasn't very aware of that until recently, so now that I am aware of that, I would like to get those going and maybe even do a couple of them before the end of the semester, because here at the end of their session, this is when everything's going to move, and or not move. So I think this is probably the most meaningful time to have those. I would like to include voter registration, a drive every fall semester, and try to instill it in people that even when it's not a presidential election, it's still important, and especially with students who are moving, they have new addresses, and possibly to incorporate it into the GPSC orientation as just part of that system. And then also to set up an internship project or program for any students, any graduate and professional students who are interested in having an internship at the state legislature, congressional offices, district offices, or DC, and then with the city of Tucson. I think there's some opportunities with Pima County, but much fewer, so that's why they're not on the list. But like the congressional offices, there are scholarships and money that will support students to go do that. And I think you don't have to be political science. They actually love it when they get, issue-specific people who want to come and lend that expertise and learn how, the sausage is made, so to speak.
Have you talked to Andrew Escoto about that?
No.
He does he does all of that with the undergraduate population. And
Okay.
he bugged me a lot last year, like, do you have any grad students who wanna do this? Like, all I have is undergrad, so
Okay.
he'd be a good person to talk to.
Yeah, and that's what I'm thinking, is I think the main people who take advantage of those are undergraduates, but I know that, like, when I was in DeHalla's office, when we would get a professional student, like we had a few law students, or other graduate and professional students, they were awesome. I mean, they just were so much better than the undergraduate interns, that I know those offices would gobble up those opportunities, and I think if students, maybe just knew about those opportunities or had some support making those connections, that's something that I'm interested in doing and trying to facilitate. And then also, and you're still here, which is great, is to just assist with GPSC fundraising and development. There's so much overlap between legislation, policy, and fund development, and then I also have a lot of background in that. So that's something that I have on my goals list, that if I can lend some support to that, I would be more than happy to do that. So that's kind of the gist of where we've been. I've been emailing here very recently about some ideas going forward. It has been proposed by a few different people, and I personally love the idea of increasing GPSC's advocacy efforts through increasing the role of the Director of Legislative Affairs. I would love to see it become a GA position. As of now, I think there would be times where the 20 hours a week would be very doable, but I think there would be times where that really isn't realistic. So in order to make that meaningful, I would suggest increasing the role away from just legislation to policy, to include all of the work of the UA committees, organizations, faculty senate, I have a whole little list of them, SSFAB. But there are a number of groups who either have a designated seat that I think that this position could fulfill, especially if the VP positions aren't going to be the GAs and they have fewer hours to spend, that might be an opportunity to continue having that representation there and the reports back to GPSC if those positions, have changed. Also with the community service project, I believe that's maybe in Jasmine's job description currently, but really working with the outreach office and some of the different groups to coordinate a few different opportunities for students to engage. Did you have a question, David?
Yes. Do you know offhand how much, what your limit as the staff, how much money we put to the legislative affairs director?
Right now, $4,000.
Yeah. So
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 we're
I'm
needing
sure you
an
probably can't
additional.
do that, right?
at minimum, we can increase that for the next year, and we should probably.
That's one option. To the GA proposer, that's also another option, but I think we'll be needing an additional 27 or 28,000 to get it up to GA position right now.
Yeah. So I don't know if GA position is a possibility for next year, but I don't see any reason why we shouldn't be pushing for more advocacy from our office, especially if we're going to cut the vice presidents down. Those are our advocates.
Right.
We may as well, we can at least bump Judge's position up to equivalent to the vice president.
Okay, here's what I would say, since we're out of time, are you gonna be at the next GC meeting?
Yes.
Because we have that budget discussion next Monday.
Yes.
I would say, come with something a little more concrete for us. If we're looking at GA, which I don't know how feasible it is anyways, but if we're looking at GA, let's have an idea as to what exactly the position we be doing to amount or to warrant that. If we're looking at the option of increasing stipend, let's have a sense of where we want to go to and how many hours we're looking to add to that position. I think we can we can do a few things next week on there, get around. I think we have we realize that we have additional funds on our budget right now that we omitted last time, so that would give us the ability to make some changes next Monday.
And
Any comments or question?
yeah, I just wanna say that Jessie actually did write up a pretty detailed proposal for how her position could become a GA position.
Can you send that to?
Yeah. I think that it's probably already detailed enough to.
Jesse, I'll send it out when I send out the preliminary agenda in 2 days,
Okay.
and so that we can, I'll just put you, are you gonna be at 6 or are you gonna be later than that? Do you think?
Let me double check my calendar, I think I should be able to be there.
Okay,
at
can we
6.
do this after the meeting since we're past 8? The next agenda was gonna be reports, but if nobody has anything significant to report on, I
We have a
will,
meeting tomorrow.
okay. I will send out an invite later tonight. With that said, I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting.
I move to adjourn.
Second, thanks. Daniel, please let's have